Welcome to Local Roots Podcast.
Good afternoon. I'm now assuming our listeners listen in the afternoon. Is that safe?
I think so.
Should I add that to the intro? Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon. Well, do you think some people listen on the morning commute?
I don't think the morning commute exists anymore.
Oh, well, I mean, for some people.
That was my prime podcasting time. That's when I would listen to almost everything is my morning commute. I'd have like an hour every day. And now I don't. Now it's like when I snow blow the driveway, that's my podcast time. And that's in the afternoon. So I'm going to say good afternoon.
All right. It's the only long time I have in the car now is when we're going snowboarding.
Sure. Yeah. You're still living an active life going up north every weekend. I got a damn baby in my arm.
Well, yeah. That's pretty damn active. You have a Popeye arm now from carrying her.
Okay. Yeah. First, we definitely got to get to our guest, but I'll just real quick. I found a new muscle in my arm from doing like the one arm, like kind of football hold and then like typing on my computer, like on a makeshift stand-up desk sort of deal. And then just like, why is my arm sore? It's baby. It's dad strength.
It's older. You're just going to get tougher.
Yeah.
So without further ado, introduce our guest who has been politely quiet while we were doing this ridiculous intro. We have the king of Celeste, the Iceman himself, Alexey Vermeulen.
Hey guys, thanks for having me.
Insert sound effect of.
Alexey, where are you coming to us from?
Currently in Tucson, 75 degrees and sunny.
Damn. Yeah, not too bad. I'm over here talking about snow blowing the driveway and you're catching rays.
Yeah, occasionally, go out there and sweep the driveway off for the guests, okay. But, just keep the tumbleweeds off.
Yeah. Others over there. I follow you on Strava and your bike rides are very jealousy inducing. T-shirts and sunshine and
yeah, it's been good. Yesterday was hard. I went for the KO and Mount Lemon, came up short. But it was a very, very, very hard hour and a half effort.
Yeah. Okay.
So
lots of solid riding out there, I take it.
Yeah, it's been a little different this year. Obviously, I'll be the first person to. Obviously, everyone has their opinions. I'll be the first person to say I haven't been very close to anybody else. And Tucson's got a great cycling community normally. But yeah, for me, it's been a lot of just riding with the good friend that I stay with here, Alexey Vermeulen, owns a local coffee shop, and my girlfriend Sophie, and the
Sounds
dog
like
Willie.
A good setup.
But yeah,
nice.
I was curious.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been great. For me, training camps are always just kind of a mental thing. You can kind of get down here, just really, really focus on something for 2 or 3 weeks. I feel like people think it's always easy to train, which is not always the case. Sometimes you need like specific blocks to kind of really focus in for a second. And,
I'm going to go ahead and volunteer to be in the camp of saying training is not easy. In fact, I hate it.
It's never fun.
I'm staring at my trainer bike right there that I haven't touched in months since the baby's born.
I knew I was ready to go when we were in Boulder, and I've always believed that I can ride outside through pretty much anything. Michigan teaches you that pretty quickly. If once you get outside and your face goes numb, you can ride forever. But no, I did I think the last week we were in Boulder, I did 3.5 hour rides on the trainer on Zwift, and I was like, cool, let's go. I'm ready. Get me out of here.
That's all I got to do.
You're over it for the year.
No, it's hard to be excited about that. I love riding for the reason we all love riding, right? Get outside, enjoy something, find a good pastry, find a random coffee shop, find a new pee stop, whatever it is, right? Whatever gets you going. And
isn't that true? How do we do that to ourselves? The whole reason, at least for me, that I got into mountain biking was the adventure and, going out and weeding through the woods and getting lost. And then in the winter, I just stare at a screen and just sweat.
Yeah.
Why do we do that to ourselves?
No, go ahead.
I feel like fitness to me for mountain biking was a plus. I wasn't trying to get fit, but I was like, wow, I lost a lot of weight moving out of Mount Pleasant. I just finished grad school and moved to Grand Rapids. Yeah. Mountain biking. I'm like, wow, okay, feels nice. And now I know that if I stop biking, I am going to balloon. Right. That is the ride to trainer.
Okay. That's well put.
That's a constant thing for me too. Everyone in my family thinks I'm going to be fat the minute I stop riding. I honestly eat more than anybody can imagine. Like I go home and the grocery bill goes up $200 a week. Like it's a little bit scary, but
okay. You can afford the calories, I'm sure.
Yeah, I can afford the calories. I'm not sure I can afford the food.
There you go. Well, so Alexey, are you just like bouncing around houses out west now, or what's going on?
What's your COVID life looking like?
Yeah, we moved to Boulder officially in July.
Oh wow.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a big move.
What's going on?
Apartment. Yeah. Not sure I can afford a house in Boulder right now.
It's like over there. So
yeah, it's expensive. Okay. No, but it was just kind of the right timing. When I moved back from Europe after road racing, I moved back with my parents because I'd been gone from the house since I was 16, pretty much. It didn't feel like I'd even really lived there. It was just the easiest thing to do. And then, I was there for a couple months and, my girlfriend works for Wahoo and they acquired Sufferfest. Sufferfest has a headquarters or was headquartered in Boulder. So, just kind of everything's aligned and it's a great place to be. And I mean, for cycling, it's also just a very, very easy place to kind of work with sponsors and do things and create initiatives. I love Michigan, but I wouldn't say it's the most bicycle friendly place in the world.
Right. They got the local bike shops down, but not so much the big names. What else is out over there?
Yeah. There's a lot, but I mean,
just in Colorado in general, I'm sure, not to put you on the spot. No, name 10 brands located in Colorado.
But mountains, weather, for the most part, as you can imagine, you talk about training being difficult at times. 9 times out of 10, you wake up, it's a sunny morning. It's a big difference. It's a little easier to get on a bike and go ride 6 hours if it's sunny, even if it's cold. Yeah. Altitude, this isn't very much to do with racing, but when you talk about really trying to prepare for something like my last year, 2021, the big goal was Leadville. And for me to prepare for Leadville was going to be 6 weeks at altitude leading up. So
damn,
there's a cost to inhibit it with that as well. So you just kind of look at it, and living at 6,000 feet instead of living at 2,000 feet kind of makes a big difference for majority of the year. Those things kind of come in different things. And if you don't race up, doesn't matter, but if you're trying to win the biggest mountain bike races in the nation, sometimes you got to that was another big plus. So, wow. And then just travel period. I wouldn't have raced last year, to be honest, if I wasn't living out west. Just we drove to the 2 races we did. I told you, I understand that cycling already puts me in kind of a more risky area. We're out every day when some people were truly inside the whole time, but I wouldn't have flown to anything.
Sure.
So being out west is able to, it's still an 8-hour drive or a 12-hour drive, but it made it possible.
Yeah. For me, racing's not a big COVID worry because I'm so fast that I'm way away from everyone else I'm racing.
Yeah. That helps.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine doing Iceman. I just know up those hills, you bottleneck, and I'm breathing as hard as my body will let me breathe. And I'm just a vacuum for everything around me. that was just not a thing great.
Just sucking in all your friends.
Also, after 2019 Iceman, I was okay not racing 2020 Iceman.
It's funny because obviously we all have different views of 2019, and honestly, the whole shitty part of the course, the whole beginning of the course for me, I was so focused on just getting to a point where I could make a move that it wasn't I don't know. It wasn't it went so fast. All I was hey, do not leave the top 3, do not leave the top 3, do not leave the top 3. And the minute I did, I'd fight to get back. And then you sit there until you move forward and move back. And then all of a sudden I was people look tired. Okay. See how this goes. But no, it's kind of funny. You didn't
have time to worry about the train. You're so focused on
that. Cold. You never thought about the cold.
I mean, honestly, no. I mean, Iceman for me, I've never raced well in like leg warmers or anything. So I don't know if you go back and look at the last 4 years, every year I'm the only one. Even Wakely has stuff on and I'm not wearing anything on my legs. That should tell you something.
Wow. No man.
Yeah, exactly. But no, like, I don't know. It's not that I wasn't feeling anything. I think I just like, you remember certain things from races, obviously. So
yeah, that's fun.
Yeah.
I want to backpedal a second because the whole reason that, the timing worked out for us to, get a hold of you to come on was your Leadville that I'll let you speak to it. So I don't want to say anything. So if I could just pass it over to you, it sounds so cool what you have cooking right now.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like people can kind of, some people gather what it is to be a professional cyclist sometimes. And like we all know cycling's a niche sport or a lifestyle sport comparatively. Not over here making $1 million, just put it that way.
Spending close to it, but not making.
Yeah, on avocados and peanut butter. But yeah, no, it just came, when there aren't races, as a professional bike racer, how you're going to distinguish yourself and continue to sign contracts, right? And it starts there, but it goes further. I've always, like, when I first left the road scene, I left it because I was super excited about what gravel and mountain biking had to offer, which was like that very relatable, like amateurs can do the same course as the pros and compare it. And like, that's why Iceman's awesome, in my opinion. And that's why gravel racing's awesome, is we can all do the same course and so-and-so does it 15 minutes faster or 15 minutes slower, or this part was hard. But like, I mean, like the pros ran up one of the hills in Iceman last year, right? Like that kind of stuff, like it's relatable. Oh, like I struggled there, so did you. And I always thought that was really cool. So taking that a step further, obviously COVID like injected 6 shots of adrenaline into the cycling industry, which has been awesome. But nobody really knows what to do with that. There isn't races. The typical way that we've always invested in cycling, whether you're a racer or a promoter, is putting money into events, whether it's creating a group ride or whether it's getting your local bakery involved or putting on a race. But now you have the biggest amount of people to come into the sport possibly in the last decade and nowhere to put them and nothing to do. And so I think, as I was negotiating contracts for 2021, after honestly racing 2 races, you can negotiate half of the contracts on your personality and pass Palmares. And, I was in a great seat having won Iceman in 2019. I was still like, you're only as good as your last result, but my last result was pretty decent. There you go. But it's like, it's a year away. And so, just started looking at like, how can I as a professional athlete truly make a difference on someone who's just coming into the sport? And I always have. Like, I don't know how much you guys watch, but like I was out there the day before Iceman, like trying to set up a kids ride, like only had 65 kids out there, but like me and Kabush and Katarina and Brian Matter were all out there, just having a blast. And like, does the race book say stand on your legs for 4 hours the day before the event? Probably not. But like, honestly, we all had a blast. Like
that rules.
There was one point, like, so just, I got to tell the story really quickly. Not to cut off, like,
no, go for it.
So the day before Iceman, which everybody knows is like this awesome day. Everyone goes out and pre-rides. You can do whatever you want. So I was driving my friend's car with a 4-bike Kuat rack on and all our bikes on it.
Okay.
So to start off this day, let's just set the scene. Lexi backs said Jeep into a tree with his friend's carbon bike on it, like destroys it. Like, I'm not talking about like, oh, that maybe couldn't be written, like 6 pieces. This bike is 6 pieces on the back, still attached to the car.
No.
So that's how I started. The day goes on. I still have to do this kids ride. It's supposed to start at 2. I also somehow had an interview to do at 2. So my friend, who I backed his truck into the tree, is setting up the kids ride course for me while I do the interview with, I think it was CBS was doing the show. Anyway, so I finished. So I go to the kids ride, everyone's there, and I'm like leading this, and I have no idea where we're going. And like, we thought it was a good idea to like spray paint these signs Celeste like Bianchi, but you can't see green in green. You can't see these signs. So I'm like leading 60 kids down this hill. And I'm like, shit, left. And you just see how well they know how to brake. And I remember, so there's one corner, we're standing there at the bottom of this sandy hill, and this girl just starts screaming, and she is not stopping. And she just goes straight through the pack into the trees. And I was like, oh, this is over. This is never going to happen again. Oh no. And we got everyone back. No one died. But yeah, like, I don't know. It's those moments that, like, anyway, like, I've always tried to do more than just cycling. But
that's great.
But no, so it's to take it a step further. And I said that, you know, it's like, I've always raced well when I'm relaxed, and that's the way to be relaxed, you know, for me. So like, anyway,
yeah,
so
it takes
that's
your mind off of it, does something that makes you feel good. I love that. That's awesome.
Well, next time I see you, make sure you back my bike into the tree, and then we'll be relaxed. That's what I got.
I'll back Brian's car into the tree, and then, I mean, maybe I could qualify for the kids race.
It forced you to be in a position. I had to win to pay off the $2,000 debt I had now put myself into. So I don't know if you know, a carbon mountain bike frame and a Kuat rack are not cheap items. But yeah, so like, I've always enjoyed doing that stuff. And so as we were going into another year where we weren't sure when we were going to race, we were like, how does a professional do something relatable to someone who got on a bike in March because their gym closed, or for any other reason, for mental sanity, or just they wanted to get out, but not be demoralizing about it. And I've always realized that, like, if I ride past someone on a bike path going double their speed and wave, that's not very motivating for them. Like, no matter what you do. And so, like, how do you make that connection?
I don't know. The wave is nice.
Oh, if you don't wave to me, honestly, you should look back because I'm flipping you off. Like,
I love that because I agree.
It's not that hard. I can wave to you when I'm doing VO2. So I promise you can wave. Like,
I'd say even a head nod is fine.
Anything.
Like a genuine, like one of those.
Yeah.
I know it's an audio medium, but.
Or a smile, for fuck's sake, just a smile.
Yeah.
You know,
it's a grimace. Yeah.
All time worse is when you pass someone, and they don't acknowledge that you exist.
Yeah.
No. Like,
it's
hey, it's kind of a niche sport. You could be like, hey, yeah, good day, yeah, but nope.
Yeah. Yeah. No, so but that's the thing, is like, cycling has a massive learning curve to it, you know? Like, whether it's learning how to put on underwear underneath your chamois, because that's a thing I've had people ask me, like, that's a real thing. Like, it's normal to put on underwear underneath pants. Like, that's unsanitary the other way. Or just like, how do you eat enough to ride 100 miles, or how do you plan for that? How do you change a tire? Like, there's such a big learning curve to cycling that's very scary and intimidating. And, you know, all of those things kind of fed into what is now From the Ground Up, a project we created that is, you know, trying to create a relatable series, taking through riders who found the bike in the last 6, 7, 9 months and taking them to what some would consider the hardest mountain bike race in the nation.
No,
it's stupid at one level. At another level, it's just like insanely exciting. And then it's just a really cool way to be involved in the cycling community. Like, at first, like, it kind of started as this very small idea. And I mean, now, for those who haven't seen it, I mean, like, Outside TV came on. In 8 days, we have 25,000 hits on the website. And
wow.
Over 500 applications with videos.
Great.
So, like, it's just really cool to see that people want to push themselves, and sometimes knowing how is the hardest way to start, you know? So
I missed that until, well, I mean, I heard it now, but when I was first reading or watching about it, so it's anyone who started cycling in the first year or within this last year is eligible to apply, right? So just, if anyone's listening, maybe we can get even more applicants, unless you're trying to back off. But
no more. No,
I already got to watch 500 videos.
It is funny that you're like, oh, thank you, 90-second video. Like, oh, cool, 17 minutes. That's going to be fun. No, but honestly, we're not cutting it. I mean, I think people can kind of figure out, it's cycling experience, right? So if you've been commuting for a while but you've never raced, maybe you're a good fit for the project. Mm-hmm. We're not really cutting it down to a year. It's just, the goal is to bring people into the sport that, you know, are intimidated by certain aspects of it. You know, all of us get into it for some reason, whether that's a friend or anything else. But right now, a lot of those pathways are blocked. Like there's no group rides. There's not many people getting out to ride together. And so this is hopefully a way to create something that, you know, can entice people to realize like, okay, I also have a 9 to 5 job, but like I could possibly train for something that I thought was impossible if I, you know, follow this kind of recipe in a way. So yeah, I mean, honestly, anybody, if you rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10, you think you're below a 5, probably for you. Right. Just kind of a learning experience. So exactly. There you go.
Well, tell us a little bit about the course. How long is it? How hard is it? Like
Leadville.
What are people getting into?
I don't think they know. Half of them, you watch the video and I'm like, are you sure? You sure you're excited about this? Yeah, we did this video a lot. So the saying that we kept laughing at was, it's 100 miles. It starts at 10,000 feet. It does not drop below 10,000 feet. It only climbs up to 12,800. There will be some
it starts at, that's not how much climbing during the race.
No, Leadville starts at 10,000 feet altitude.
Yeah. Okay.
Gotcha. I think there is.
You're up there. You're breathing heavy.
You're breathing light.
I think there's about 10,000 feet of altitude climbing also.
Okay.
10,000?
Yeah.
That seems right for about 100 miles, right?
Oh. 100 miles out and back. So I think the weird part about Leadville is just out and back. So you pass the people that you started with.
Okay.
Which is like, I don't know, that's demoralizing.
Demoralizing. You're like, I'm going. You're like, oh shit. Oh no.
Yeah. You're like, is that Bill? Yeah. Bill and I were in the same wave and he's facing the other way now.
I lost for about 4 hours.
Yeah. So I don't know if that's demoralizing or encouraging, but depends what side you're on.
Yeah. I was going to say, it depends on if you're going forward or back.
Yeah. But yeah, 100 miles, it's at altitude. There's a lot of climbing. I would say it's a little bit like Iceman in the terms that it's not the most technical race in the world. I would say the altitude does its job on that aspect. But it's just hard. Like there's pros who can't make it up some of those hills. Just get steep and loose and gravelly. And, yeah, I mean, I think the reality is it's 100 miles. All of us who've done Iceman, you just imagine doing that 8,000 feet higher for doing 3 Icemans back to back.
Back there, back. Yeah.
Yeah. So, and I think for us, honestly, the biggest thing with Leadville was it's in August. You know, we looked at possibly we're doing it with Kansas.
Right.
Iceman is hard because it's as much fun as it is. Like, is 30 miles long enough to aim for or train for? Some would say yes, some would say no. But yeah, the goal was, you know, take on something that seems impossibly daunting. That's kind of where we landed on Leadville.
That's awesome.
I agree. What were some of the other races you would consider for something like that? Because I agree, you know, anyone who's first year can pull out of Iceman, even if it takes them 4 hours, they can still finish one. But 100-mile Leadville, I mean, that's daunting for anyone.
It's daunting for me.
Sure, like, I mean, I bet.
But like for different reasons. But I was telling Ryan, because I've never raced Leadville, for those who wonder. Like I was going to do it this last year, but Ryan, my teammate for this coming year and kind of partner in crime for this project, has done it 6 times. Okay. And I was like, Ryan, I don't think you understand. Like Leadville is daunting to me as a professional athlete. I mean, for different reasons, because when I go there, I want to be at a level that, you know, my goal is to win, and it's daunting for a different reason because I'm so scared of it. But like, Leadville still scares me, and I've been riding every single day since I was 16, 17 years old. But yeah, I mean, Kansas was one that obviously comes up. The issue is if these people you have to, like, we didn't have our ducks in a row early enough. If you're having people apply in January and February, you're closing applications at the end of February, you're getting these people stuff to train on in March. Like, you're talking March to June is not very long to train for 200 miles. And in the end, yeah.
So and 200 miles.
Yeah. So, and there's like, Kansas has different levels, but I think our goal was like, how do you create something that's, you know, attainable, but also off in the distance a little bit. And Leadville kind of has that, you know, it's not too technical. There's still some skills that scare people.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of little races that popped up, but I mean, for the most part, Kansas and Leadville, because you want people the goal was to attract people that maybe aren't in the sport or are just on that level of like, hey, I bought an $800 bike and I've been debating upgrading, like how do I get into this sport that we all love? And like the way to attract those people is to get races that might've been on their radar, even if they aren't racers.
Okay. Now, how many people are you picking for this contest?
3.
You're picking 3.
Cool.
Are you going to be riding with them?
Yes. So not all the time, but yeah, that's our goal. So just as a little insight for people who listen, this is kind of like shoot schedule stuff, but yeah. So in March, February 21st is when applications close. Plan to notify people within a couple days. And then, just kind of start working. We want to go deliver everything in person in March.
Cool.
So, I mean, part of this, we hope that you don't need enticing because you still have to ride 100 miles, but I mean, you get a bike from Canyon, you get a setup from Wahoo, you get a coach through Sufferfest, you get a lot of really cool things. And you get an entry to Leadville, which in itself costs an arm and a leg. But yeah, so we'll go there and our goal is to kind of just go through the things that I talked about, a little bit like either just like be able to put a plug in a tubeless tire to having the bike fit decently and not feel like you're breaking your back every time you get on it. And then April, May, we want to bring people to Boulder, just to be able to like keep it in one space, do a little COVID testing, and then go and do a couple little things. Like we want to bring in a skills coach for a couple days for everybody, because that's going to be a big thing that's daunting, just seeing a rock and like knowing your suspension can take it or can't take it.
Yeah.
Bring in coaches, which I think everyone will benefit, just realizing that like, it's not, I think cycling for me, the hardest thing is like the reason we want to bring in a coach or Sufferfest at all is like, we all know it. As you spend time on a bike, you realize it, but like cycling is such a progression sport. Like you don't see it. You don't see progression day to day. You don't see it week to week. You see it year to year. And that's really hard to realize. Is like, it's really hard to quantify that I am getting better. I'm getting faster.
That's why the bigger guts are kicking my ass still.
It's true. There's muscle memory to it. Like you can't, you can make big jumps by doing big training camps or big anything, but like, the reality is like, it's a year to year progression. And so, yeah, so we'll bring them to Boulder and do a couple of those things, do a skills, do a coach, do maybe some nutrition stuff on how to eat and drink correctly for 100 miles. Cause that obviously comes into it. I mean, you're going to be burning 6,000 calories. So,
that rules. Yeah. So is it all, are you like filming it all so we can like see the progression and like us bystanders? Like I'm already fascinated. I want to know how they do and all of that. So
yeah. So it's all going to be documented.
Yeah.
It's going to be, we've kind of trying to decide, we're either going to put episodes out either every month leading up to Leadville.
Love that.
I'm thinking we're going to start in like April though. I'm going to skip March, just because we want to keep them like kind of every 2 to 3 weeks instead of every month, just so people can be excited about the race leading up to it. But yeah, I mean, the goal is for this, like for people to be able to see this. And like, of course it's not going to be a perfect guide, but like Ryan and I want to put out, like this all came about by wanting to make adventure riding, racing, all of it easier, right? Like we did a ride when I first moved to Boulder that kind of set this all off, from Boulder to Crested Butte, which was like 300 miles and 30,000 feet. And we just like, some of the hardest things for people, like the day before ice pace, everyone freaking out is like, what tires am I running? What tire pressure am I running? What gearing am I running? Like all those things kind of inhibit people from taking on things that they might be scared of to begin with. And just, hopefully people are able to follow this, and, everyone that does apply is going to get things themselves. I can't be specific on that, but like, it'll be really cool to hopefully see people want to like pick their own adventures, regardless of it being documented, and kind of follow along and be involved in a sense, and kind of realize like there's other people that have jobs and can't train on a normal basis, but still want to achieve something, So it'll be interesting. I mean, honestly, the hardest part is going to be picking 3 people. Like it's every time it's really cool and really humbling. But like, I mean, if I go update this now, like every time I update it's like, it's in a Google Sheets thing. It's what it filters into.
Uh-huh.
And I like every single time it's like, it's incredible and also like scary. Cause I'm like, okay, cool. I have another hour and a half of videos to watch that like, it's just, yeah, it's hard. Right. Cause you like, it's so
you
here.
Up on your bike and like ride your bike and then, you know, listen to them. And
I wish, but like, how do you click on a link and like go to the next link?
You're pulling over every, what do you say, 17 minutes they are?
Those are long ones. Yeah. We're up over 500 now. So 520.
Well, I think that just goes to show you how, you know, cool of a project it is. And I'm definitely excited to watch how it all unfolds.
It gained a lot of attention, which is awesome.
Yeah. No, I mean, I think the big part is you hear it. Like it's hard for me, and it's been hard from the beginning. It's like to get to this step where we launched, it was hard. But like the reality is you want to make sure you do make an impact on people. And the goal was to start a fire in more than just these 3 people. Obviously at some point, you know, it has to benefit my partners as well. And it has to benefit other people, but just because 3 people are being documented doesn't mean that we think we can't hopefully start that fire and, you know, set a spark to people who want to accomplish something themselves. I mean, you know, we have people who are 65 years old who are applying for this, you know, and I have 12-year-olds who are writing me, asking me why there's an 18-year-old age limit, right? Like I was that kid when I was younger. Just to be clear to everyone who's listening, it's not me, it's Leadville. Blame Leadville. They won't let you enter unless you're 18. But yeah, so no, it has been really, really cool to see it. Everyone struggled with COVID at different times. And, you know, part of it's there, but it's just, I don't know. We all love cycling. We all love riding for some reason, but it's kind of hard to but it's kind of hard to put a finger on what that is. It's different for all of us.
Yeah.
You know? So it's been like, and everybody has a different reason to want to get into it. And that's the cool thing about like having a compiled list of people who for some reason want to suffer for 100 miles in 12 hours. Like these people are literally asking to ride their bike for more than 12 hours. That's what they're saying.
That is
a little crazy. It's a little crazy.
Yeah.
Well, Alexey, what got you into biking and why do you still do it?
I think because I don't take it too seriously for the most part, honestly. But no, I mean, I grew up.
What drew you in? Why are you like, I'm going to become really good at riding a 2-wheel vehicle?
No, I still don't know that I'm very good at riding a 2-wheel vehicle. Every time I have a stupid crash, I remember that. But no, it's.
I think right there is like a good mentality, the humbleness. It's radiating.
Yeah,
it really.
No, like I grew up. For those who don't know, obviously I was born in Memphis, grew up in Michigan. I think one of the things my parents did really well when I was younger is I was never just in one sport. I loved doing everything. There was a while there where I ran cross country, rode my bike, and played hockey, and I loved it.
Love the hockey.
I think, I mean, who doesn't? Like, I'm half Canadian too, so that helps.
Nice.
But no, like I think cycling can be a very individualistic sport, especially as you get higher. Becomes a very, you know, it's not so much beers in the parking lot anymore. At some point it's a job. And that whole team mentality from cross country and hockey kind of going through cycling, I feel like really helped me. And just being able to compartmentalize and understand that like one shitty day on the bike doesn't equal shitty time on the bike. Like I can still love the bike and hate the bike at the same time. If that makes any sense to anybody.
I think that's the most relatable thing I've heard all day.
Yeah.
Like I love that bike when it's at Luton, but when it's on the trainer, I hate it.
And then when it's on top of me and I'm all bloody, I don't like it, but like I had fun today.
Yeah. So I grew up. I mean, I did some triathlons when I was younger with my mom, but I really got into the sport because my grandfather grew up in Holland, immigrated after the war to Canada, and he raced when he was in Holland. Didn't race much in Canada or North America when he got there, but once I started doing triathlons, it was just kind of a cool way. I quickly realized that I was much better at the running and biking portion of it, and that swimming sucked. And I don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. Okay. You go slow, you feel like you're drowning, and it's not fun.
And you know what? It's so wet.
It is wet. It's very wet.
It's soaking.
But yeah, and I feel like it's kind of like everybody, cycling grabbed me at first from the adventures it took me on, talked about that earlier, but like even further, I was decently good at running also. And I ran cross country all the way through high school, just because my principal was awesome and set up a program for me. But running, I got to go to Adrian or up north or something else for a meet, and cycling, I got to go to Europe. And
that's a little cooler.
So and so like I can talk about all my love for the bike, but in the beginning, I feel like also like I realized that it was a direct give and take. Like if I put into this sport, it's giving back to me. Like I get to go on these really cool trips. I get to see my hard work come out and be given back to me in some sense, whether that was racing or just being able to travel and go for 2 weeks or 3 weeks to Europe. And like, none of my friends were doing that,
Yeah. I think, I don't know. I almost want to talk about that for a second. You literally with riding your bike, you actually like the more you put in that you get a tangible thing oftentimes, whether it's, your KOMs or a new debt. Like I remember in Traverse City, like that's where I was first starting to ride at Vasa. And there's always like on Instagram, these like pictures of a sign that was like, I always forget what the section was called, but it's like either whatever. It was a sign that was hidden. Holy Grail. Yes. And it was like this section of Vasa that I could never find. And then I'd always
you tried to take me there a couple of times.
We never made it probably. And then I remember like the day I found it, I was like, yes. And it was just like a little thing like that like just sparks more interest and more interest and more interest. And I don't know. I think that is kind of why I like biking at least.
Yeah. No, it is for everybody. I think especially when you're 16 and you're wide-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Sure, yes. Twice as fun.
Yeah. And so I still loved everything. Like I honestly my sophomore year of high school, so I was 15 racing age 16 for those who care. I went to an online school platform just because I was gone. I had a dick algebra teacher who was just screwing me every time I came back from trips. But
we found out why you're a pro. You want to get away from real.
But no, my principal actually brought in a program that allowed me to pretty much have a seat in each of my physical classes at school. So if I ever wanted to come back, obviously it never really works out like that because you're at a different point in the class than the class is actually at. But yeah, I'd take my school online, but like I'd pretty much go into orchestra. It sounds the weirdest thing in the world, but like I was such a social kid. I wanted to be in school. Like I'd come back from a trip to Europe and like go in it. I'd wake up at 6 a.m. just to go to orchestra and then leave and come back to my house. But that also allowed me to I could have walked with my class. I was in Europe. I wasn't there, but allowed me to run cross country. I was allowed to be a part of school sports. And so that was it was really big for me to be able to be a part of that team atmosphere when I was also this singular person in cycling, just kind of moving forward at a slow pace. It felt like at times, right? Like you take these big jumps, it feels like in cycling. And then for a while you don't really, exactly. You kind of plateau. You don't really feel like you're moving. And then you take a massive jump. It always felt like,
was there a point where it took, obviously there was, but what was the point where it tipped to bike as the priority, or was it immediately priority?
No, it was priority probably after sophomore year.
Okay.
And I ran cross country, but I would pretty much just do it for the 3 weeks that were off season.
Or over school and everything too.
Yeah. So it didn't, so we can get to that, but I guess first to answer the priority question, I feel or the tipping point for me was I won nationals when I was racing age 17, 16. So a year later, which is it's a big deal. It puts you on the radar. Cycling, I'm not one to take out that I worked my ass off, but so did 10 other guys there. And there's a lot of luck that went into it. But at the same time, it's that luck can kind of propel you to different places. And once you get there, you have to prove yourself and so on and so forth. So I went after I won nationals. It was June or July of 2011. I got a chance to go to Europe for the first time it was a month with the national team. I went there and got my ass kicked in the first race, kind of figured out how to race. And then kind of figured it out. And honestly, the racing fit me really well. So it's a race of attrition, just constantly, if you're out the front, you're out the back, and kind of progressed and did well there and ended up being allowed to stay for 3 months all the way to the World Championships, which is really cool.
Damn.
Did that the next year, which is another junior year. So by that point, I was going into my senior year of high school. And then that next step in cycling is under 23s, which is a big deal. So I kind of told my parents, I applied to all my schools that I wanted to go to. I told my parents so I could sign a contract with BMC Development or Livestrong at the time, which is now Axel Hawkins Berman, or just Hawkins Berman now, that I would probably defer school and see what I could do in racing. Those teams didn't pay you a lot of money, but they paid you more than any of my friends were making. And so I just kind of like kept following that step and kept believing that, I don't know that I ever prioritized above school, but like when I wanted to go to school, I wanted to go to pre-med. I wanted to go to something that was definitely going to take.
Besides, you want to go pre-med? Do you want to be a doc?
I wasn't sure. I just knew I wanted to, I've always loved the way the body works. Even more probably how the mind works. I've always been very interested in why people make decisions and why our bodies, some people can push harder than others. I mean, everything to do with what I do on a daily basis, but from a different side of it.
Kind of like you could be a doctor.
But that also, it's great talking to two doctors about it,
obviously.
No, but that obviously was something that I knew I never wanted to half-ass anything. I'd put pretty much everything that I had into cycling, and I wasn't going to half-ass either of those, whether it was half-assing college or half-assing cycling. So for me, it was a one or the other situation. I was happy to say, hey, I'm going to go to school and just race in college for fun. And nothing against anyone who's racing in college, but for me, I was going to prioritize school and just race for fun in college, just ride when I could, or prioritize racing and defer college for the time being.
Wow.
And that's a big decision for an 18-year-old. But yeah, so I got a contract from BMC, which kind of opened my world in cycling for the development team. And it kind of just grew from there. I mean, that turned the 2-year contract that I signed turned into a 3-year contract, and that or 2 more years, but I actually ended up signing off my BMC contract onto the Lotto contract. And it kind of just takes steps, you're not sure exactly where it's go. Where your end goal is, but you never know until you can get there or sign that contract. I mean, I know there's many people who work just as hard as me and never made it, it's about being at the right place at the right time. It's a lot of luck in cycling, and with that luck goes hard work, but it's hand in hand in cycling. It's such a small niche sport in a sense, but I think that's kind of how it went. I don't know that I really ever prioritized school. I think I got to a point where I realized if I want to go, that reprioritization needed to happen. So
and it's always going to be there, even if tomorrow, you got bikes are boring, you can always just do it.
And that's the thing. And so I've realized that, there's many times where I have debated sitting in school would be easier than riding my bike 6 hours.
I'm sure.
But yeah, I definitely really enjoyed the process. And it's not that you don't have goals. It's you do have so many goals that I honestly haven't even you think about school for a minute and you were okay, well, that's kind of that's road B on road A right now. But yeah, I think honestly, the biggest issue right now is I would change what I'm doing. I probably wouldn't go pre-med anymore, just looking at timeline.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Well, yeah. And I don't think we were recording yet, but yeah, Brian and I, are doctors. We're
They introduced themselves as doctors, and I believe it. So.
Yeah, so we could just talk to our colleagues. We'll get you in. You could job shadow a couple of our friends.
I build really cool investment buildings.
Yeah,
doctor level.
But no, that's kind of it, I think.
Well, Lexi, what are you sipping on over there?
My friend gave me a nice hard IPA before I came in here.
Fantastic.
It's called Sexual Fluctuation. It is
intimate.
It's a double IPA from New York, from Middletown.
Interesting.
It is good.
Okay.
I would have loved to plug a Michigan beer. You kind of put me on the spot there. But I will say I got a bunch of Jolly Pumpkin and
nice.
and Founders in the fridge. So
you're a big JP guy, I know.
I'm a big sour fan, so Jolly Pumpkin kind of wins in that category for the most part.
They're very good. Do you get Jolly Pumpkin out there, or
they started distributing nationally in canning now. So
that big, eh? Okay.
Yeah, I mean they weren't like, so this is all sad, but I was actually like we had a big partnership deal going for 2020, and obviously nothing happened.
Oh, no.
But I was super stoked to so it's gonna be really cool just to be able to support Michigan on a national stage.
Damn.
But so everything kind of fell through. But it's still pretty cool. I do love Jolly Pumpkin. I do love a good sour.
Favorite Jolly Pumpkin beer?
Ooh, kind of honestly any of the sours. I think right now I have probably on the spot favorite. Fuck, that's difficult.
What about just sour genre? Because now there's all these sub sours you could get. Like
this isn't a Jolly Pumpkin, and now I'm not sponsored by them. I don't have to sit there, but
okay.
the seasonal green zebra from Founders.
Yeah. There you go.
It is very interesting, but if you could sit down and have 3 after a ride and feel like you're on top of the world, and I'm a big fan of that.
Yeah. I love those.
I stopped liking those, and then I had one post ride, and I was like,
you can definitely get right after.
Right.
Yeah. You can definitely get a little. You can drink them too much. I did that for a while.
They're so sweet and delicious.
A little sour at the same time. Balance it out.
Yeah. No, but I don't know. Pretty much anything. I can be a superstitious person. So my kind of lead into Iceman the last 2 years was obviously Peak to Peak, and then Peak to Peak you win a tall boy all day IPA from Founders.
Dude, I didn't know that was.
So that's one of the. But so I'm very easygoing with beer and food for the most part. But for me, it's a very mental thing. So when I'm really focused on a race, I don't drink, not because drinking hurts you at all, because in my mind, it's easy to be I'm completely focused when I am sober, eating clean, doing everything. Not that one beer is going to kill me. It's just that thought of I'm all in.
Sure. Makes total sense.
Yeah. So that's always the first beer I drink after Iceman is the beer that I hopefully win at Peak to Peak.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Usually it's a shower beer, but it was especially delicious last year. And last year it wasn't the first beer because I had one on the podium. Other than that, it was good. I don't know, but I'm obviously biased, but Michigan has some pretty damn good beer. So it's been pretty easy to.
My superstitious beer is to chug a large Two-Hearted before every race.
That probably gives you Michigan strength.
Yeah, I did it on the way to Iceman. I did it before Peak to Peak. I did it the last Iceman, and
I know we had them the night before, but not the morning of.
No, morning of. Yeah, just one though in the morning of.
Okay,
just a little bit. That's not how you win races, listeners. But
it can be. It depends.
You got to double down.
Yeah. No. But I think. I don't know. It's all in the right time. And I think that's, I don't know. I don't know. Beer's great. Just right time. Just
well put.
Just in my job category, it's got to be the right timing. So
makes sense. Alexey, I remember watching. I think one of the first times I saw you was at a Peak to Peak race, and that's when I really clicked. I was like, damn, these guys are they're really good. I had a hard time racing it, but there was a big gap between first and second. I think there was at least a 3 to 4 minute gap at one of the Peak to Peaks. And I was like, holy shit. These guys are the pros. And then the other guys came in. It was you and Wakely battling it out.
Yeah.
And that was really cool to see, but also holy smokes. These guys are the upper echelon of the pro. Where Larry and I are we're kind of, hey, we finished. Oh yeah.
Yeah. I always say this, but it's our races are beating ourselves last year. And that's all I care about.
No, I think that was 2018 or 2019. Which one do you think it was? Maybe 2018.
I want to say it was 18.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. The weather was really shitty for 18, so I'm guessing it was 19 then.
Yeah, no. The weather was really shitty in 18.
19 was gorgeous.
Yeah, peak to peak's hard. Everyone knows that. I love it because it's so hard. For me, it's like it is the perfect way. Like, this is not me being humble, but like it is harder to win a local race than it is to win Iceman. Like, or it is to win a race with national caliber riders. Because if I go to a race that is peak to peak or my local Island Lake or at Leadville Trail, like that's like you end up being the focus. And that is really hard. And that's kind of why I love peak to peak, is because I don't just have to be strong. I have to think constantly. And for anybody who's raced Wakely, you have to be strong and think constantly to beat Wakely. And so that's like, peak to peak's always been great for me for that. And I think, so yeah, but I think 2018, the year that was really shit, that was an eye opener for me, because that was the first time like going in, moving from the road, I'd pretty much told all these companies like, hey, I'm going to be on the podium at Iceman. And if I am, let's talk about a contract. So like I had a lot sitting on the line, like pretty much my cycling career was sitting on the line in 2018.
Holy shit.
But then like, so peak to peak was my first mountain bike race ever as a mountain biker. Yeah. And so like I'd raced Iceman like for fun after the road, but I'd never like put focus into mountain biking. And so I remember the weather was shit and which was not good for someone who hasn't raced, right? Because mud is not a great friend of somebody who's learning how to ride a mountain bike. And like to that point was still pumping my tires up to 40 PSI and just, just like slide and just like too much power, too much torque, too much everything. But yeah, like you do realize there is a gap. And it's more just like figuring out, how to take on races that they're all different. Like you have to take on every race differently, and everyone who's there is a different threat. Like Wakely's always going to be strong, but if you have Brian Motter there, he's probably the savviest guy going. Quick little, I grew up in Pinckney where Brian grew up. So Brian built the trails that I rode growing up. It was wild. Little crazy situation there, but
by the way.
Oh, very cool. Yeah. So like, I live on Portage Lake. My parents live on Portage Lake. But yeah, I grew up riding Pato, which Brian, like, he's like, oh, I built this bridge. It's like, wow, 20 years ago. Cool, Brian. Way to date yourself. But yeah, so like, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, it is interesting. And I always love to hear about it from other people's perspectives, because for me, those kind of races sometimes move in slow motion. You're just trying to figure out where you're going to make your move, if you can make your move. And yeah, just figuring like every course has someone's strong point and someone's weak point, no matter what speed you're racing. So, and that's kind of always been interesting to me. The same, like, and sometimes it's a mental thing. Like, oh, I'm bad at this section. And like the whole race, it becomes a bad section for you.
Now, yeah. When you're neck and neck with someone, so you and Wakely are neck and neck, you're giving everything you can. Your whole body wants to beat the other guy. Are you guys like shit talking to each other or like chirping at each other? Or is there any of that going on?
I would say no. I mean, always, I'm just kind of a nice guy. I mean, I definitely get in a race mentality, and I'm not going to be your best friend. But like the reality is, I'm always up for a race. So I would much rather like that. I think 2019, when you talked about it, like leading up to the 3 years that I won peak to peak, 2018, 19, 20, I guess I didn't win, but 18 and 19, like Cole House had dominated. Right. Yeah. And like, it always been a very come down to a sprint, Cole wins race. And like, I would always rather take it out and just race head to head all day. And like, that's, I think, why Wakely and I have a mutual respect for each other, is that like, we're on different calibers at times, we're on different levels at times, but like in the end, I can respect Jordan because like that guy will flat out race. And it's fucking awesome. Like, and it's so I'm sorry to swear, but like, it's really cool. Just be out. Like we were one lap into like peak to peak's not hard. It's not easy. Like, sorry, it's not easy, but like we're one lap into a race that we'll tear you apart in 3 laps. And we decided to go 6 watts per kilo up the first climb. And I made a decision. I looked back, Wakely's there. I was like, cool, let's go. Is it the smartest thing to do? Probably not. But it's that situation of like, get in there and race. And so I think that's kind of that whole mentality of figuring it out.
Brian, can you just imagine the difference of their experience, or like Alexey and all what they're going through versus what we're going through? A whole different game.
Yeah, there's a whole different game, which is crazy. Like,
yeah, we're on the same course, but like just like I don't know. Isn't that awesome about cycling? Like, it's professional football. You can't like play with your buddies.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Oh, go.
No, I was gonna be like, we're on the same course, as what Alexey mentioned earlier.
Yeah.
And we can be like, yo, was that climb hard? Yeah. I can't go to Tom Brady and be like, yo, was that hard? Was that fucking difficult? I had a hard time with it too, man. You can't do that.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. No, it's fun. It's also, I don't know, that racing in Michigan's a blast, but it's just, I love when you get all of it. Michigan does have a lot of strong racers. I think people in Michigan are strong because as much as you think climbing up mountains is fun, you get to descend down the other side. If I go ride 6 hours in Michigan, I got to pedal the whole time. It's not easy. You got to be strong.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, yeah. Switching gears for a second before we dip out of here and we let you go. Apart from biking, what do you do? What do you do for
Brian? Sorry to cut you off, but I love that before we started, we're like, this podcast, we're barely going to touch on bikes. We're
very end. I'm like, I got some questions.
We could do part 2. We could do no bikes part 2.
Deal. Okay.
Yeah. Honestly, now, I mean, like, as a privateer, and for those who don't know, I mean, that's honestly just that I'm running my entire program. It's a lot of relationship building and continuation, whether that be sending pictures, sending updates, sending content, sending feedback, anything else. Projects added a whole other level of that. There's just either feedback on that, learning that now I have to deal with liabilities on if I kill someone, things like that. How to write up terms and conditions. That was a fun thing to learn.
Yikes.
I don't know. I still love hockey. But
nice.
Honestly, what I do is ride bikes and cook food. A big fan of cooking.
Okay.
Yeah.
You pond hockey guy?
Yeah, we played when I was back home. My brother and I used to play lots and lots and lots.
If you're in the Grand Rapids area, hit me up. We'll play some pond hockey.
Come kick your butt. I'm kidding. I'm not that competitive.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit.
I'm not competitive. He says.
Not competitive at all.
No, but there is a reason that. Yeah, no, we've always loved. My fondest memories are growing up, and like my brothers and I would each invite our 10 closest friends over, and we'd have like 40 people on like a double Olympic sized rink on the lake, just blowing each other into snowboards. I don't know. It's not much better than that. And it's always like, even when I started racing for BMC, like I'd have a coach, like a Belgian or a Dutch coach. You don't ride so much this week. What do you do? And I played hockey. What is this? I played hockey. I played 4 hours of pond hockey. I'm exhausted.
Yeah, legs are a lot slower than a biker.
Yeah, no, and like it takes you a couple weeks to switch over because leg speed's different. But like I may be very, very fit. But yeah, I don't know. Ride bikes, cook food, deal with sponsors. I mean, I think that's kind of my life right now. I mean, COVID's kind of, I like to say I'm a social person, but COVID's kind of put a kibosh on that.
Yeah. You take care of the pup.
Yeah. Willie, little wiener dog. My girlfriend will kill me if I specify it as mine. It was hers. Now it's ours.
I was going to ask you, whose dog is it?
Oh, he's just being handed. This is Willie.
Oh, what a pimp.
Really? So I don't know how much people rode this week. Willie did 14 hours this past week in the backpack.
Oh, wait, no. While you're riding?
Yeah. Yeah. So this is why he's exhausted, because he honestly is like,
oh my God.
First off, he's very long. He's very long.
Whoa.
Doesn't stop.
But yeah, no, he does do a lot of riding.
Do we have to, for the audio, do we have to explain anything that just happened other than that's a really long wiener?
I lifted a very long wiener up. I don't think it's just a dog. No dog. I lifted a very long wiener up.
Exactly.
Long wiener, small balls.
Size.
But yeah, no, he definitely makes. He's been a good little addition to the COVID squad.
Good.
How much does he weigh?
11 pounds. And I go rip mountain bike trails with them. I definitely ride with like a 15% error. Like I definitely back off a little bit. But yeah, I mean, it's a great core workout and he makes riding harder. So
yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So
where did Brian go?
I think he went to get his dog. Does he have a dog?
Oh yeah. He has to. All right. It's not a dog, but he's got to show it off.
Wow.
It is a real fluffy one.
This man.
Oh, hello.
Like with.
I think he's he or she.
It's a him.
I think he's the same as Willie. He's probably bigger.
That is a long cat.
You think he can fit in a backpack?
Probably.
I'm sure he'd love it. Brian, you should try it.
Willie loves, if you set the backpack down, he will freak out.
Really? Is there any special, like just a regular backpack, or is it like
it's a dog backpack? It's made by a company called Canine.
Okay.
But like it just like it has 2 armholes and like a little clip so he doesn't jump out. Because he would like it sometimes when he sees prairie dogs or squirrels, it's game over. He's out of the backpack, like flailing around.
That's awesome.
You did a pod with the Dirty Chain Boys.
Yeah.
And one of those guys carries his ferret with him, doesn't he?
Yeah. Trevor does, I think.
It's freaking crazy.
Yeah. No, he does. It's pretty awesome. It's like, I don't know. Like sometimes I talk about at the beginning, I don't think the audio was on yet, but I talked about like, I rarely ride with music unless I'm doing like hard intervals. I'm always a big podcast guy.
Okay.
And it's kind of the same with an animal. Like I don't need human interaction. I just need an animal in a podcast and I'm great. I can ride for 6-7 hours.
Welcome to the future. It's all
correction. It's Sheldon that has the ferret.
Yeah, it is. You're right. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's only 2, so you got a 50-50 shot either way.
Message me and be like, "Hey, I'm the guy." You asshole.
Yeah,
I'm sure they got better things to do. Anyways, I hate to be the person to do this, but I got a baby to get to soon, so I think we got to wrap it up if you guys don't mind. Alexey, first of all, pro. I mean, I love when we have someone on who just can go for it because, I don't know, it just makes for a good episode. Like we didn't have to like do anything, think of anything.
You guys set it up. You guys do all the hard things. I'm just talking. I'm always open to talk. It's been, what has it been, a year now that I haven't been able to talk to people outside? This is great. This whole Zoom thing was created for this.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Yeah.
Guests that we have on that they're super cool, interesting to talk to, but like, I don't know if I'd want to like sit down in person, have a beer with them.
Yeah.
Like we'd love to hang out with you, which, that's the vibe we're getting. So thank you for joining.
Of course. Let me know if you ever want to do it again with no bike talk. That would be might be a little harder, but
it'll be a challenge. I think we're ready for it.
Awesome. Yeah. No, guys, thank you so much, and hopefully chat soon. Meet you guys for beer at some point.
I can't wait. And then right before we hang up, is there anything you want to direct our listeners to, or they know where to find you?
No, I mean, like my name is my social medias. I mean, if you are interested in that project, it's fromthegroundup.bike is the website URL. So, but yeah, I mean, anyone reach out if you have any questions, but otherwise just get out and ride your bike and have fun, preferably outside.
Oh yeah. Well put. All right. See you guys.
Thanks guys.
Thank you, Alexey.
See ya.